This is 9 News with Peter Overton.
Good evening. Malcolm Turnbull and his government are attempting to rally behind under-fire Immigration Minister Peter Dutton after his controversial comments about refugees. The opposition quickly seized on the inflammatory remarks, diverting attention away from their own problems surrounding a key frontbencher.
Saw these in the course of construction.
Malcolm Turnbull wants to make asylum seekers a major issue, but Peter Dutton took it arguably to a new low.
They won't be, numerate or literate in their own language, let alone English. These people would be taking Australian jobs, there's no question about that. And for many of them that would be unemployed, they would languish in unemployment queues and on Medicare, so there would be a huge cost.
The Prime Minister tried to play it down at his first campaign stop.
We have the most successful multicultural society in the world. It's very expensive. We don't begrudge the money, but it's important to get it right.
And Julie Bishop defended the minister.
Let's have a reality check here. Peter Dutton is pointing out the self-evident fact that it costs a great deal of money.
Bill Shorten called it orchestrated rubbish, a divisive scare campaign, and demanded the Prime Minister condemn it.
He insulted the millions of migrants who've contributed to making this a truly great country.
Refugees are contributors. They're contributors to our society, they're contributors to our economy.
Labor likened it to Pauline Hanson.
Immigration must be halted in the short term so that our dole queues are not added to by, in many cases, unskilled migrants not fluent in the English language.
At a later media conference, Malcolm Turnbull backed Mr Dutton.
Peter Dutton is an outstanding immigration minister.
And did his best to explain what he meant.
What we do in a way that many other countries do not is that we invest hundreds of millions of dollars. Our immigration program is built on a pillar of compassion.
Bill Shorten was forced to reprimand one of his own for not listing a property on Parliament's register of MPs' interests. David Feeney, for 2 years, somehow just forgot about a $2.3 million home.
I've expressed to him how displeased I am about this matter. It is unacceptable.
Despite tweeting it's a scheme for rich investors, he also somehow forgot he negative gears the property.
Well, that's quite a lot to overlook.
Lane Calcutt, 9 News.
Let's go live to the Nine Network's political editor, Laurie Oakes. Laurie, just how damaging are Peter Dutton's remarks for the government?
Well, Pete, it distracts attention from Labor frontbencher David Feeney's failure to declare or even remember, apparently, a $2.3 million negatively geared real estate investment, and that's annoying for the government. But the cynical view in the coalition camp is that getting asylum seekers into the headlines helps the government and hurts Labor, no matter how crudely it's done, and even if it provokes allegations of racism and dog whistling and comparisons with Pauline Hanson or Donald Trump. Peter Dutton claims that if we admit more asylum seekers, they'll languish in unemployment queues. He also claims they'll take jobs away from Australians, so they'll be unemployed and stealing jobs, 2 scare campaigns for the price of 1. It's not a pretty way to fight an election campaign, and probably not what many of his admirers expected of Malcolm Turnbull when he became Prime Minister, Pete.
All right, Laurie, thank you. A recycling factory packed with bins of volatile plastic erupted in flames at Auburn this afternoon, with workers fleeing and at least 2 of them suffering severe burns. Fire crews tried to enter the building but were beaten back by the flames and fears the walls were about to collapse.
A fireman poised over the boiling smoke of the burning factory, trying to batter down the fire with a solid jet of water as fumes from the blaze spread across the industrial complex. Workers inside the plastics recycling centre fled when the fire exploded.
A couple of explosions and then people racing out and yelling.
It's believed the blaze spread in seconds through bins of plastic bottles. At least 2 workers suffered severe burns.
2 occupants ran out. One had burns all over his body and the other one had burns over his hand.
Guy come in running to me and all his hands were burnt and just asked me to get the hose and put it on him. So yeah, I just hosed him down.
Ambulance crews arrived in minutes, taking over. It was too dangerous for fire crews to enter the building. Firefighters are using aerial appliances like the ladder you can see behind me to fight this blaze because the walls inside the building are severely damaged and there are fears the factory could collapse. Once the blaze took grip, it flared towards neighbouring buildings, but fire crews managed to contain it.
It looks at this stage like it might have been an accident, but police and fire investigators will determine that after the fire's extinguished.
Natalia Cooper, 9 News.
Around 7,000 litres of diesel has accidentally been dumped in Sydney Harbour near Rose Bay. It's believed boat contractors were working at the local marina when the spill occurred last night. The effects visible in the water today. Months of painstaking police work have led to 7 people, 3 women and 4 men, being arrested in a series of drug raids across the Lower Hunter Valley and on the Gold Coast. Drugs and $100,000 cash were seized. The raids carried out by a strike force formed almost a year ago to counter a growing supply of the drug ice in the Maitland and Newcastle area. The state government has been forced to deny accusations it covered up details of a new deadly outbreak of Legionnaire's disease in Sydney's inner west. It comes as the health minister today admitted she only learnt of the most recent death through the media.
More than 20 cooling towers in Burwood are now the centre of environmental health inspections to pinpoint the exact source. The New South Wales Health Minister today forced to defend the way the government handled the release of information.
If there's no real risk to the community, I don't want to raise unrealistic fears among people.
The first of 4 Legionnaire's cases in Burwood was identified 11 days ago. A man in his 80s died 7 days ago, but nothing was revealed until late yesterday.
Yesterday, the government refused to confirm that there was a death. The community has a right to know. There has been an absolute cover-up.
I don't believe there's any intention on the part of New South Wales Health to hide or delay this notification. When we found out the actual cause and location of a cluster, we are making that known to the public.
This is the 5th cluster of Legionnaire's this year. The CBD was a source of 2 incidents in March and May. 1 elderly man died as a result. In late March in Kogarah, in the city's south, a contamination affected several people. The St George Hospital cooling tower tested positive. Dee Why on the northern beaches was also a bed of contamination. And now Burwood, another victim with significant underlying health issues, has succumbed to the disease.
It's terrible. Why is it happening? Well, what can you do if it's in the air?
An expert panel has been set up to review the recent outbreaks. The expert panel will also consider any changes to the existing regime of monitoring cooling towers. Currently, it's up to local councils to carry out random checks. Symptoms of Legionnaire's include fever, chills and shortness of breath. Anyone concerned should see their GP. Gabriella Rogers, 9 News.
A teenage terror suspect remains behind bars tonight following his arrest in Parramatta during a major police operation. Let's go live to Nine's crime reporter Simon Boda, who's in Woolloomooloo. Simon, you have information, I should say, on why counter-terror officers acted when they did.
Well, Pete, I've been told that possible targets of this alleged terrorist attack, among them were Sydney military installations, including the naval base here at Garden Island, and that obviously explains why counter-terrorism police moved as quickly as they did.
After his dramatic arrest yesterday...
Does he deny the charges? I can't make any comment, I'm sorry.
It was expected Tamim Khaja would apply for bail when he fronted court this morning.
I haven't spoken to him.
Instead, the former Epping Boys High School student didn't even see inside the courtroom, letting his lawyer speak for him.